Imagine being tasked with taking a team that has talent but hasn't touched the highest level of success and crafting them into champions. That's exactly what Clive Woodward set out to do when he took over as head coach of England's rugby team in 1997. For Clive, this was not just another coaching role, it was his opportunity to change English rugby forever. But his path was anything but smooth, and the stakes were as high as they could be. Clive Woodward didn't come from a typical coaching background. In fact, he wasn't even a coach by trade. He was a former England player, but when his playing days ended, he ventured into the corporate world, working in management for Xerox. He wasn't just shuffling papers, though. He was absorbing business strategies and learning what it took to lead a team. And this experience would eventually become his secret weapon. When he returned to rugby, he was determined to fuse his corporate expertise with sports coaching, an approach that would raise eyebrows and even stir controversy. Vision and early struggles, building the perfect team. Woodward didn't just want England to win games, he wanted them to dominate. His vision was bold and went against the grain of traditional rugby thinking at the time. He famously referred to his team as a mini corporation and believed in applying business principles to sports. He wanted everything to be meticulously planned, from players' diets to the data-driven analysis of opponents. It sounds standard today, but back then, this level of scientific precision in rugby was almost unheard of. Did you know that Clive even introduced computers for analyzing game footage? Imagine this. Players, accustomed to relying on instinct and grit, were suddenly required to sit through hours of footage, dissecting every move of both their own and their opponent's games. Some players found this innovative, while others were skeptical. But Clive stood firm, seeing the potential for every decision to be driven by data rather than gut instinct alone. And while his ambition was huge, so were the challenges he faced. Woodward didn't start with a dream team. The English squad was struggling on the international stage, and he had to take players who were talented but unrefined and shape them into an unstoppable force. It wasn't an easy process. There were moments of doubt, and the press was far from kind, calling his methods overly complex and unnecessary. Yet, he continued, driven by his belief that he could lead England to victory, training like never before, pushing boundaries with cutting-edge techniques. One of Woodward's biggest innovations was the use of sports psychologists, nutritionists, and fitness experts to elevate his players' performance. He hired people like Dr. Cheryl Calder, a renowned eye coach who worked with players on their visual skills. He also insisted on incredibly intense fitness regimes that took the players to their limits. In his view, every player had to be not just fit, but the fittest on the pitch, able to outlast and outmaneuver opponents right until the last whistle. He also embraced something called total rugby. Woodward believed every player should be a threat, so he encouraged his forwards to run with the ball and his backs to tackle like forwards. This was controversial because rugby had long been a game of specialized roles, with each position having a narrowly defined skill set. But Woodward wanted his team to break that mold, believing that versatility would give England an edge that no other team had. The players trained relentlessly under this model, and gradually, England transformed into a team that could play fast, smart, and powerful rugby. Yet this approach didn't come without setbacks. England suffered some hard defeats, and critics questioned whether Woodward's methods were too modern, too complex, or simply unrealistic for the rugby field. But he was unwavering in his commitment to his vision. The controversies, ego, expectations, and high-stakes decisions. Woodward's bold leadership style wasn't without controversy. Known for his fiery personality, he clashed with players, staff, and even the English Rugby Football Union, RFU. He demanded absolute professionalism, often placing the players under enormous pressure, which sometimes caused friction. Woodward was seen as too corporate by some of his critics, And there was tension over his approach, which some felt stifled the player's individual flair. In particular, his decisions around player selection sparked heated debates. Woodward was willing to take risks, sometimes benching star players in favor of newer faces who, in his eyes, fit better into his vision for the team. And as the 2003 Rugby World Cup loomed, the pressure on Woodward reached an all-time high. Every decision he made was scrutinized, every player choice questioned. But to Clive, the stakes were clear. He was there to win, and he would make whatever calls he felt necessary to reach that goal. One of the most controversial decisions came during the final stages of the World Cup itself. Leading up to the 2003 final, Woodward was faced with a dilemma over his kicking strategy, which revolved around Jonny Wilkinson. Wilkinson was known for his precise kicking, but there were concerns about over-relying on him. Woodward faced criticism for what some saw as playing it safe. But, as history would show, this decision would become legendary. The final showdown, England's triumph in 2003. The 2003 Rugby World Cup final in Sydney was a spectacle, with England facing Australia in what would become one of the most thrilling games in rugby history. Picture this. The tension was palpable, and the match was tied at 17-17 with only seconds left in extra time. It all came down to a single moment, one that Woodward and Wilkinson had prepared for relentlessly. In the final play, Wilkinson made his famous drop goal, sealing England's victory 20-17. The stadium erupted, and England had just secured their first ever Rugby World Cup. But this victory wasn't just about the win. It was about the years of planning, innovation, and relentless pursuit of excellence that Woodward had instilled in his players. He had taken them to the edge, challenging them to be better than they thought possible, and now they had reached the pinnacle of their sport. The aftermath and legacy. Did he leave on a high note? After the 2003 World Cup, Woodward's career took an unexpected turn. Despite his success, his relationship with the RFU was strained, largely due to his relentless demands for more control over England's rugby structure. He wanted to reshape English rugby from the ground up, pushing for a centralized system similar to New Zealand's, but this vision clashed with traditional English rugby authorities. His tenure with the England team ended in 2004, and he moved on to coach other teams and even dabbled in football management, a transition that was met with mixed results and even more controversy. While his time with the England rugby team was his career highlight, his methods and ideas continued to be a source of debate in the rugby world. Today, Woodward's name is synonymous with the idea of total commitment to excellence. His legacy is not just the World Cup win, it's the way he changed rugby. He brought in an approach that mixed corporate precision with relentless ambition. And although it came with criticism and controversy, it's hard to argue with the results. Reflecting on Clive Woodward, a legacy of innovation and determination. Clive Woodward's story is one of innovation, controversy, and an unbreakable drive to make history. He wasn't always easy to understand or work with, and his methods challenged the norms of rugby. But by pushing his players to the absolute limits, by demanding excellence in every tiny aspect, he led them to a triumph that remains unmatched in English rugby history. His story is a testament to the power of vision and the willingness to stand firm, even when others doubt or criticize. So, next time you watch a game, think of Clive Woodward's 2003 England team, and remember the man who dared to bring the world of business into the heart of rugby. And when that final whistle blew in Sydney, it wasn't just a victory for England. It was a triumph for one man's relentless, uncompromising pursuit of greatness. That's the incredible story of Clive Woodward, the man who transformed English rugby and led his team to a historic World Cup win in 2003. His journey reminds us that sometimes the path to greatness isn't about playing it safe, but about pushing the boundaries and daring to be different. If you enjoyed hearing about Woodward's relentless drive and the obstacles he faced, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories of legends who changed the game forever. And hey, drop us a comment below. What did you think of Clive's unique approach to coaching?
Would it work in today's game?
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stories of resilience, controversy, and triumph. Until next time, keep chasing greatness.